Hello everybody, this is Shrikant Dasari. So in this lesson, we are going to introduce ourselves to C++, its history, origin and implementation. So let me tell you about a little bit about myself. So my name is Shrikant Dasari. So I work as an assistant professor in Dr. LB College of Engineering, which lies in the southern part of India. Okay, so the C++ programming language is created by this great computer scientist known as Bjarne Stroustrup. Okay, so at AT&T Bell Labs in United States of America. Okay, so actually the C++ came out in the year as a commercial language which is used to write applications in the year 1983. Okay, so C++ is considered as a superset of C, which means in a simple way that every valid C program is also a C++ program. Okay, so if you are a good C programmer, then you can happily make a transformation to C++ with very ease. Okay, so all the C programs, whatever you have written, so will be successfully compiled under a C++ compiler. Okay, so without any rough modifications or heavy changes, you can run happily your C code within your C++ compiler. Okay, so C++ is also considered as a general purpose object oriented programming language. Okay, so this is a very new term to you. So until now, you might be familiar with C programs, which are structure-oriented or procedure-oriented programming languages. So in procedure-oriented programming languages, so everything is considered as functions. Okay. So in object-oriented programming, each and every module or each and every uh, tiny little details are considered as objects in object-oriented programming language. Okay, so object-oriented programming is a paradigm. So, like how C is a structured programming language, you can just now I have seen that. Like in structured programming languages like C, so are based on functions. Okay, so and in object-oriented programming like C++, so everything here is based on objects. Okay, so you will understand about this concept when we look in more detail about the object-oriented paradigm concepts when we touch those level of details in C++ programming language. Okay, so before creation of the C++ language, the most popular languages at the time were C and similar 67. Okay, the C++ was the combination of C language and similar 67. So similar is an object-oriented programming language, and C is an procedure-oriented programming language. So the creator of C++ has taken these both languages as inspiration. Okay, to invent the C++. Okay, so he did not reinvented the wheel once again. So he just taken the concepts whatever they're already in C. So base of C++ programming language is C programming language, and he had taken the object-oriented features of similar 67 and he had added to that and he made that as a C++ programming language. Okay, so the C was taken as inspiration because of its features like simplicity, portability, fastness, and popularity. Okay, so you all know that. So if you are familiar with C programming, C is a very simple and easiest programming language for any programmer to write code or for any student just to learn the programming concepts. Okay, so portability. So the definition of portability in a simple way is that you need not worry much about the system architecture or processor assembly level structure of any architecture's processor which you are going to use. So you just the languages like C are portable, are called to be portable because so they have the very this low level capabilities to embed the code in any architecture. Okay, so if you worry about the program you have written, that's enough. Okay, so you can run happily that code provided if you have a compiler for that architecture. Okay, so since the fastness, coming to the fastness of C, so C is a very fast programming language. Fast in the sense it can compile or run programs faster in C when compared to other programming languages like Java or other in the world like Visual Basic or something like that. They are fast. C is fast because I mean it is very fast to compile because of its uh, the low level capability, and also it uses less amount of RAM, and it's also a compiled language. C is a compiled language, as with C++ also. So compiled languages always tend to work or run faster than when compared to the languages, interpreted languages like Java and Visual Basic and so on and so forth. Okay. The last feature for which the C is taken as inspiration is popularity. Okay, so by the time C++ was about to be released, so at the time the most hottest thing going on back in early 80s is C. Okay, the C has just came out in the year decade ago, in the year 1972, by Dennis Ritchie, and then it has been used in all different platforms like application development, writing device drivers, and operating system kernels. Everywhere they intend to use C because of its popularity in usage with Unix operating system. Okay. So next, moving to the Similar 67. The reason they have chosen Similar 67 because of its advanced object-oriented features like classes, objects, inheritance, and subclasses, virtual methods, and garbage collection. Okay, so each of these is a separate concept here. Okay, the class is known as a blueprint. Okay, so you will understand about all these object-oriented features of Similar 67 in the coming subsequent lessons when we dive into the concept of object-oriented programming. So by the time you can take as a note that you have the Similar 67 programming language, which has been existed before the creation of C++, which has been the dominated programming language in the object-oriented arena at that time. So they have taken the inspiration of its object-oriented nature and added that to C, and then they have finally compiled and invented a language called C++. Okay, so initial name which was given to C++ was C with classes. Okay, so which means that they have taken a C programming language and they have added this classes, which is a very basic building block of any object-oriented programming language. So class is everything in object-oriented programming language. Okay, so whatever you write inside an object-oriented programming language, you need to embed them inside a class. So everything is inside a class. So even the main program in programming languages like Java, even the main program should be enclosed inside a class here. Okay, so that's the reason. Initially, the creator of C++ has named that the name of C++ as C with classes, since C is the core of its programming language. And then later in the year 1983, it was renamed to C++. Okay. So here the plus plus operator indicates that it is a superset of C language here. Okay. So superset, so if you recall the operators in C programming language, the plus plus, the significance of this plus plus operator is to increment. Okay. So that's in the sense you have C already. Whoever they have renamed this programming language into C++, they thought that if we add the plus plus operator to the C, then it signifies the significance of that is going to be that it is an incremented or superset kind of thing to the very base language, which is a C language here. Okay. So this is the first edition of C++ programming language, which was the de facto standard at the time for C++ programming language. So whoever until at that time the language was not standardized. Okay, the standardized means there are some working groups and organizations like international standard organizations which tend to standardize each and every language like C, C++, Java, Perl, Python, and all those things. So, so at that time, before the release of, before the standardization of the C++ language, the creator of C++, Stroudstrup, has written a book which is known as the C++ programming language. Okay, so this pic, whatever you are observing here, is not the first edition of that. It is the most latest version. Okay, in the year 1985, they have released an book which acted as a manual or a reference for all the C++ programmers. Okay, so standardization of the standardization is the way to set some standards to any programming language. Like C was standardized in 89 and 90 by ANSI ISO. In the same way, the C++ programming language is also standardized by International Standards Organization. In the year first, it has been standardized total 3 times until now. Currently, we are in 2014. The first in the year 1998, the C++ programming language has been standardized in the year 1998. Okay, the first time. The standardization is nothing but the universally if we standardize a language like C++ or C, then universally that programming language will follow some standards such that every programmer or every implementation of a compiler should follow those standards while writing the programs or designing compilers for that particular language and so on and so forth. Again, in the year 2003, they have standardized the language once again, they have standardized in the sense they have added some more new features to the language. Again, in the year 2011, they have standardized the language. I think in the year 2014 also they have constituted a committee to standardize the language and release the documentation in the year 2017 or something like that. Okay, so for the time being, you just take a note that standardization of C++ is nothing but setting some standards to programming language such that each and every programmer and whoever writes the compiler tend to follow some rules, certain specific rules, such that the programs will work in the same way on all different architectures. Okay, so C++ has the main reason or the backbone behind creating the other two great object-oriented programming languages, which are Java and C Sharp. So Java became so popular that it even dominated the C++ because of its nature called architecturally neutral. Okay, so it went on dominated in the C++. It has taken the influence or inspiration from C++ to its object-oriented nature. And then it slowly became a very popular and very huge programming language. Okay, so C++ is considered as a compiled language, which means that you need a compiler to execute your program. So whatever the program, so what is the program? If you get it out, the program is nothing but a set of instructions which were written by the programmer. Okay, so in any specific language consists of a program. So program which is in turn a set of instructions written by the programmer. So to run those set of instructions and execute the program, you need a compiler. Okay, so the compiled languages obviously run faster than interpreted languages like Java. Okay, so the compiled languages like C and C++ are always faster when they uh, are always faster than interpreted languages or the languages which run within a framework like C sharp. C sharp runs in a framework like the C sharp runs a framework like dotted framework. So those kind of languages will run a bit slower when compared to the compiled languages here. Okay, so to write programs and to compile the programs, you need a certain tools such as IDEs and compilers. Okay, so there are a wide variety of IDEs available in the market. So out of them, the most popular ones are Turbo C++, which is DOS based, and Borland C++, which is also from Borland Corporation. Now they have changed the name of that corporation or something like that. We need not go much into that details. We have Borland C++, which is Windows based, and we have Visual Studio Express, which is a great IDE, my favorite IDE to write C++ code. Visual Studio Express from Microsoft, which is also a Windows based awesome tool to write programs. Okay, so Turbo C looks like this. You might be familiar with Turbo C++. Okay, sorry, Turbo C, and Turbo C++ looks like this. So this is the just a screenshot of Turbo C++. So Turbo C++ is very most popular among the students and learners who are about to just to start programming in C++. The reason because it is very lightweight and DOS based and requires less amount of resources to run a simple and tiny C++ program which were mostly used for learning purpose, not for huge development and so on and so forth. And next we have Borland C++. And don't worry about that pic. That is not a pic of a racing car or something like that. That is the screenshot you get when you are initializing or installing Borland C++ in your system. Okay, so Borland C++ is a Windows-based IDE from Borland, which was released in the year 1997, back in 1997. It's a very old version based on Windows 32-bit environment. It runs very smoothly. So if you want a Windows-based IDE like Windows-based IDE to get comfortable with coding, then you can go for Borland C++. Or if you are good enough with DOS-based the entry-level kind of IDE for students to write program, then you can go for Turbo C++. The choice is yours. So this is a screenshot of Borland C++ version 5.02, 5.02. So it's very comfortable than Turbo C++. You can write programs with ease, and you can copy paste the code, good code if you get from the internet or something like that. Okay. So then we have this is the logo or entry screen for Visual Studio, which is also a free version from Visual Studio Express as an IDE from Microsoft, which is a huge piece of software. And you can develop not only console applications with C or C++, but also Windows applications like Forms and so on and so forth with ease on Visual Studio Express Edition for Windows Desktop. So this is a screenshot for Visual Studio Express 2012. We also have 2013 released already. Okay, so you can use this is a huge piece of software which takes a lot of resources, but you can do program if you have a good enough system with Windows 7 running and at least 4 gigs of RAM and something like that. Then you can happily download this free software from Microsoft website or visualstudio.com, and you can use it happily. Okay. So other famous IDEs and compilers out there for C++ on other platforms and including Windows also. The first one is Xcode. So Xcode, those who are using a macOS, Macintosh operating system, Apple iMac or something like that, they can install Xcode from Apple. It's designed by Apple for writing iOS apps. So iOS is based on Objective-C, so you can happily run C programs in Xcode. So along with that, we have Eclipse for both Windows, Linux, for all platforms like Windows, Linux, and Macintosh, and also the NetBeans. Okay, it's also a good IDE from Oracle. And GNU compiler connection is an set of tools for various programming languages, compilers for those who actually work for a Linux environment. So if you have a Linux, if you are from Linux background, so you can happily write your C programs in code editor or not text editor like Emacs or VI and something like that, or Nano, and you can compile your programs using the inbuilt GCC compiler. So if you're a Linux user, so automatically your Linux comes with this GNU compiler connection, and then you can happily run your programs at the command line. Okay, and then we have code blocks ID for Windows operating system, which is also quite popular these days, which uses MINGW, an open source compiler, which is GCC based. Okay, so also the last we have Dev C++, which is also a free and open source IDE from Bloodshed. So okay, so Dev C++ is not recommended because it is not been an active upgradation of the IDE or the compiler it uses actually. Okay, so these are the other famous IDEs and compilers we have. Okay, so now coming to the advantages of C++. So there are huge varieties, huge advantages of using C++ as a programming language. So here are some of them listed here. So it's extremely popular. So which makes a lot of support available for it. And also we have popular is very popular, and not only among the high level applications, but also the low level system programs kind of thing also. Okay, so since it's a compiled language, it runs faster than Java or Python or C Sharp. Okay, those are all interpreted languages, so compiled language obviously runs faster. There is a compiler for every compiler for C++ on every major operating system. Okay, so that's we have seen in the last slide also. The many languages are based of C or C++. Okay, so many languages are based on C or C++, such that the knowledge of these languages will make your life easier when you're learning about when you're about to learn other languages like Java or something, C Sharp or something like that. Okay. So apart from advantages, we also have some drawbacks, which is very quite obvious. Okay, so drawbacks, you'll understand the drawbacks of C++ if you know well, if you have a well-versed and thorough idea of how the other languages work. Okay, so until that time, we can just take a note of all these drawbacks. Some of them are like it's not it's it lacks automatic bound checks when you're dealing with arrays, so it does not have a garbage collection like Java, which can lead to a memory leak sometimes. Okay, so all these things, advantages and drawbacks, you'll understand more when you dwell into the programming language and in-depth knowledge of how the various things work inside the language here. Okay, so applications of C++, if we take a note of quite a bit of wide variety of applications where C++ can be used. The first one is system programming like C. C++ can also be used for system programming. System programming, that means you can design device drivers and low-level applications for system, and also embedded systems. C++ is also very popular in embedded systems, and you can also develop operating system kernels, as we have as with the case of C programming language, and also database applications like Oracle and MySQL and all the famous database applications which are out there were written using the C++. Okay, okay. So desktop applications need not mention. There are a wide variety of huge number of desktop applications which were developed in C++ programming language, as was the case for server applications and games and apps, you name it. You have the presence of C++ in all platforms out there. Okay, so that's the very basic introduction to C++. So if you like the tutorial, give a thumbs up and feel free to comment your views on in the form of comments in YouTube. So until that time, goodbye.